It's really hard to believe, but it's true. February is nearly over. Can you believe that? That's so crazy, but it's true. Welcome, it's Luisa Heinzel with the last of my junk journal bucket list videos. The last one for this year, let's say. And today I want to do something special because I have a little message for you. And with this message, I would like to thank you for a really, 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 really amazing month. In case you are new here, then you perhaps don't know what this is and what I'm doing here. I started a little party in the beginning of February because I wanted to celebrate my birthday on the one hand and the month of February on the other hand. And I made a junk journal bucket list that is existing only in my head, but it's a list in my head, you know. I haven't written that down, but it's there in my head. And on that list there are some things that I always wanted to do regarding to junk journaling, things that I couldn't finish yet because, you know, time reasons. And those things I have done during the month of February. If you have missed the other videos, you can find a playlist linked below this video. There are several different like topics because, you know, on such a bucket list there are not things that have the same theme but very different things. Also different like techniques and ideas and that stuff. The link to the playlist is down below in the description box so that you can watch all of that. And of course, the February videos will stay on my channel also after February. And for today's project, I want to make something for you. I want to make a little card. And with that card, I want to give you a little message. And if you have followed this series during February, you know that there have been some happenstances. I don't believe in coincidences, so I call it like that. But I thought, okay, February is over, then all of these like wonderful things and happy accidents are also perhaps finished, and that's all. I mean, I appreciate what I experienced during February, don't get me wrong, but I thought, okay, this somehow must have an end, yeah, that things happen and you think, why is this happening exactly now? Because I thought otherwise it would be like a little spooky if there would be more things in such a short time. But then another really, really cool thing happened, because I thought, how can I bring my message to you? How is that possible? I thought about what I want to create to bring this message to you. And then suddenly, because I mean, I haven't had an idea, I thought, I want to make something special and I want to let the people know what I have in my head, and I want them to know that message. Do you know what I mean? And I thought, how can I do that? And then suddenly a package arrived, a package from Tim, and I opened the package expecting something, some, you know, materials I have to work with. And there was something else in that package, and I thought, how cool is that? Because that suddenly solved all of my problems, because it's this stamp set. Look, some hearts. This is called Love Notes, CMS 477. And it's not only the hearts what I want to use, but also something else. You will find that out later. But that was something where I thought, okay, that is really cool. And if you know me, then you know that I have a problem with hearts normally. But I really, really like these. I think these are the only hearts I can handle. I don't know what that is. I think it's the shape of hearts, which makes it hard for me to handle them. But yeah, we will see. So what am I doing here? I have just taken a piece of watercolor cardstock. This is the Ranger watercolor cardstock, and I've used the textured side to make this oxide inked background. This is scorched timber oxide ink. And now I'm thinking, why is there so much white? Is that a problem? I don't think so. Perhaps that makes it more interesting. I want to use this, or let's say parts of this, because I want to make the card squared for my background. And I think this is already enough interest for me on this background, because I want to emboss this piece of paper with an embossing folder in a second. And to make the whole thing not too busy, I will leave this like it is. I will just dry it, and I will not add more layers. Of course, you could do that, and this whole thing could become even more interesting for a background which I wouldn't emboss. I would probably go a few layers further with this technique just to bring more interest to this piece, and I would probably also do that not so, you know, regularly like it is here. I wanted to have some of these interesting areas which comes with the layering of the oxide ink, but yeah, you know, with embossing you won't see so much of that later, because I also want to add other mediums and I don't want to have that too busy. I don't know if that makes sense. But what I was trying to say is you could, of course, go further and add more layers so that you get more of these tinier details here. For embossing, I would like to use this embossing folder here. This is by Sizzix and Tim Holtz. The number is 665753, and this is called Numbered, I guess. Yes, here's the name, Numbered. And I've chosen this not only because so many of you, I mean numbers and people, do you know what I mean, are watching my videos, but also because this embossing folder has my birthday on it as well. Here's a 4, there's a 2, here's another 2, and yesterday I found another 4. It's hidden here. Here you can see it. So I thought that is good because it represents my birthday as well. So I will quickly run to my embossing machine and do this. So here we go. Then it looks like this. Already really cool. But I want to bring out these numbers a little bit more. Of course, there are many different ways to do that. I want to go a really easy way today. I want to use some scorched timber distress paint and a brayer, if I can find it. A second ago it was here. Here we go. I want to brayer this on here so that we can then see the numbers better. And of course, you know, grunge. I need grunge here a little bit. Could be a little bit more. If you want to recreate this card, of course, you could also do this thing in other ways. You know, you could also use different colors or a different technique to bring these numbers out. but I always think this, and yeah, especially with this embossing folder, it's always the same. You think this looks so gorgeous, and I want to play around here, and then I always can't decide which technique I want to do with this folder. But I think this looks already really good. And I have already prepared a little strip. This is too big, but I will cut that down in a second. This is also some watercolor cardstock by Ranger, and I have made an oxide ink background here, and then I've just, you know, cut that into little strips. So this was originally the same size like the other one here. For this here I have used crushed olive oxide ink first, some layers of that. Then I've used peeled paint for the next layers and a little bit of forest moss on top. And as you perhaps can see, and that's what I was trying to say a second ago, this is way more detailed. It has way more interest in my eyes than this, but this will go to the card like it is instead of being embossed. So, you know, perhaps now it's more clear what I was trying to say a second ago. Because if you imagine to emboss this, you know, then you would have really, really busy things in between of the numbers, and that can look interesting, of course, as well. But for this, I don't like that. I want to have this little calm. Okay, so then the plan is to put a little strip of this here, and I also want to cut this into a square. But before I do that, I want to add some crayons on here to get a little bit of this on here. I know it can't be exactly the same because, you know, different mediums and the surface and so on. But I want to have this like a little connected somehow. And I think with smearing some crayons here, that could be good, hopefully. So I'm using peeled paint and tumbled glass and a little bit of fossilized amber to get this yellowish effect. I know those are not the same colors like here, but I do that on purpose because I think when it's too matchy, then that is also not so good. It's not so my taste. So now, after scribbling that, I'm going to use my finger and smear this around a little bit. And the paint has now built a resist, meaning I can smear the paint around and it comes to the paint as well, to the areas where the distress paint is. But in a second I can take a paper towel, make that a tiny little bit damp, and then I can take that off from the paint so that, you know, the numbers don't have the crayon on them. Hope that makes sense, because I want this just, you know, that this looks like it's only on the background but not on the numbers and not on the raised areas. So that's what I want to say. Perhaps like this. This yellow area is a little bit crazy. Yeah. I thought if it is good or not so good if you have white areas, and I realized that that makes a really interesting effect as well. Look here, that looks nearly like broken somehow. Also here, I really like that. I want to bring those areas out a little more. So I'm using tumbled glass to smear that on those areas as well. That is like, you know, it pops out really well. Great trick. Haven't thought about that before, but that's of course a logical thing, isn't it? Because on the oxide ink, the crayon is way more subtle, because you can see the brown through the other colors, but on the white areas that looks totally different. Of course, we could do something like that on purpose, on another project, I mean. Nice. So if I now think about the square I want to cut out, I have to leave this and cut here. Let's put, I don't know where I have to put this. I can't imagine how big the square is going to be, but that doesn't matter. We have the crayons here. Don't freak your freak, Louise. Where's my water? Where's my water now? Oh no. Next to your embossing machine, Louisa, because you have used it a second ago there and you have forgotten to take it back to your desk. So let's go over this and let's remove the crayon from the paint. In some areas it will stay there because the paint is not so thick in some areas, but I think that looks really nice because then these numbers get a little more dimensional as well. Okay, so when we have that, we can first decide where to cut it. I want to have the 4s and the 2s visible as much as possible. So that means, let me just check this. I always have problems with these inch measurements. I always have to double check that. So this line here is the width of the card, meaning if I want to have a square, then I have to cut it like this. Nice collage fodder, yay. And then let's quickly ink the edges. Ooh. With some scorched timber oxide ink. I don't want to have them too dark, so that's the reason why I use the oxide ink. I mean, it's a dark color, but you know, this is a little smoother than if I would use the ink. And I would be really interested in what you have done during February. I have seen some of you have crafted along with me and you have turned the ideas from my videos into your own ideas. You have already posted that and I have seen it and I am happy. But perhaps there are some of you who did something totally different. Perhaps you would like to let me know what you have done. I mean, how you have used those videos. That would be really interesting to know. And it would be really interesting if I had a pencil here, but I don't have one. I want to cut a strip from this, but not too wide. So let's see. Not too wide and not too narrow. Perhaps here. So let's cut this off. And I thought if we put this here, then we can still see this 2, this 4, and this 4, and here's another 2, I think. I will cover up this one, but you know, I have to make decisions. I have to do it somehow. So, but this is, it's still really big, isn't it? I think I'm going to cut off a little bit more. Yeah, that looks somehow proportional now. And now I want to take this. I'm going to line this up here on the left, turn it around so that I can make a little line here so that I can see where the card starts. And then I want to see what the middle is from here to here. Approximately here. So that I then can take this and fold this so that this gets a little tab. And when we then have this here, this can go on here like this. We have this little tab here, and at the same time, later on when the card is finished, the back side is not white, but this green. That's the plan. It's a good plan, I think. So let's ink this with Scotch Timber Oxide ink as well, so that this gets a little more definition. And when I sit here and do this, I feel really weird at the moment. I mean, perhaps you can hear that in my voice. I feel really weird because on the one hand, I'm so happy that February was such a great month, but at the same time, I'm so sad that it's finished now and that it's, you know, it's over. It's really weird. And the time went by so fast. I really can't believe that. That is totally incredible. And this looks good, I think. Okay, so then we can take this to the sewing machine because I want to sew around here to give this a little bit more interest. If you don't have a sewing machine, you can just skip this step, of course. So here we go. And we can already glue this down, I think. I hope. I hope that I will not change my mind in a second. I mean, if I glue it down now, I can't change my mind anymore because then it's there. But no. How do you do that when you create a card? Do you prepare all of the single components first and then, you know, have them loose on your table and then in the very end you glue them together? Or do you do it like this, you know, have one thing that you like and then glue it down, do the next thing, glue it down, and so on? That would be really interesting to know because, you know, I'm not a card maker, I'm a junk journaler. And when I make something like this, I sometimes feel like, yeah, a dinosaur or something like that. It feels a little bit like I had never done it before. Because sometimes I can't decide what I want to do next or what I have to do next. I mean, there are also projects where it could be necessary to have all the single components loose first and then later on glue them down. You can glue them down. But with this, I mean, it's no problem to glue this down here now. I mean, you know, process-wise, it's no problem. But sometimes I just can't decide how or what I want to do. And that's really crazy. So now I want to stamp some of these hearts. I want to have 2 hearts here. I think we're going to use this one here, and I want to put a smaller one on top to symbolize that our hearts are connected. Yeah, that's what I want to show you. And which one do I want to use? Perhaps could this be good? I think this is good, because then we can still see the shape of the bigger heart really well. Yes. And which color do we want? I think I want to try something with frayed burlap. I want to use a cheap paper, so this is not watercolor paper, but I want to try something. Normally I would use watercolor paper for this, because I think I want to spritz some water, you know, for stamping. That has reasons, you know. The first thing is I want to know, I mean, I have this paper new in my stash, and I want to know if it works to stamp on here. That's the first reason why I do this. If it doesn't work, I can still take some watercolor paper and stamp again, and yeah, use watercolor paper, but I want to know if this works. And the other thing is, my ink pad is really a little bit empty. I have to refill this. So this is frayed burlap oxide ink. And I thought perhaps I can get something nice, but I don't want to, you know, ruin this. So I will first stamp just normal without adding water. Yeah, and that is exactly what I have expected, because this is nearly empty. So let's do this again. Let's see if we can get a little more color on here. Yeah. Let's do it again. And the details in those stamps, crazy. That looks so cool. Ah, I love that. But I want to stamp another time, but this time I want to add some water to my stamps to get this a little more loose. So my idea is, I have the basic shape of the heart here so that it is easy to cut out later. And when I now spritz a little bit of water here to my stamps, just mist them a little bit, I'm hoping that when I stamp again, I get a little bit of the oxidation, you know, a little interest to the single areas. I mean, these stamps are interesting by their own, but do you know what I mean? These little, can you see? That is good. And when this is dry, then it's also, the oxidation is really, really nice, I think. I can already see that because it starts to dry there. So let's put this out of the way. Let's quickly dry this. Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to have. Just a little bit of oxidation, not too much, because I want to also stamp another stamp to the bigger heart here. And I do that before I cut that out. I want to use this stamp here. Love isn't something you find, love is something that finds you. But I don't want to stamp that. Where's my... Oh, things are disappearing here on my desk. Where the heck is now my scorched timber ink pad? what have I done with that? I'm so in love with scorched timber that I have the feeling that sometimes I take it somewhere. Perhaps it's next to my bed because I love it so much. Where is it? It's here. I found it. Oh, I was really close to freaking out. I've used that for a photo for Instagram yesterday, and it was still in my photo box. I want to use this as a background stamp somehow to make this heart a little darker in some areas, so meaning I don't want to be able to read this, but I just want to bring a bit more contrast to this. Whole thing, you know. Let's see if that can work. So now I'm going to cut this out, and I will leave a little white frame around here. I had some thoughts about my problem with hearts, especially since I have this stamp set. When I got it, I mean when I opened the package from Tim, and I opened it. Yeah, I already have opened it, Louise. I have taken out the stamp set. I looked at the shape of these hearts a little closer, and I mean, it's a heart shape, yeah, but these tiny grungy details and the fact that it's like a wonky heart, I mean, this is really wonky. This is a bit more regular, but it also has these tiny imperfections there. And I think that I like these hearts compared to, you know, normal hearts, which are really regular, better, because the shape is not so regular. Do you also have shapes that you can't handle? I mean, that must have a reason that I normally don't use hearts in my projects. I mean, hearts are great and they have a message. Do you know what I mean? That is strange that you don't want to use them. So I think that must have a reason somehow. And I really think these can heal something. Somehow. And it's also really easy to cut these out because they are wonky, and you know, you don't have to cut so precisely, and it looks great. So where's my card now? I want to have this heart here that covers up a lot of this too now. Oh no, perhaps I should have put this a little, well, but we know that the 2 is there, don't we? Because I want to have this sitting on this strip here like so. And here I want to stamp another quote from this set, and this is my message to you. It's this stamp. Or not the stamp, but what the stamp says. Drum roll. So let's see if we can do this without the stamping platform. Oh. So this is my message to you. A list of reasons why I love you. First, you are you. End of the list. This fits so perfectly to everything I want to say. And with this thing, I mean, you are all so far away and you are spread it all over the world, And if I could do what I really want to do, then I would have to make this card very, 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 very often and send that to each and every one out there, because all of you are such a big part of my life on the one hand, and you have done so much for me, especially during February, that I can't thank you enough. And I'm hoping that this little message reaches you, even if you don't receive the card. You know what I mean? Because, yeah. And this also says that you don't do the same things for me, but so many different things, and that can only happen because you are you. And I think that this really says with only these 2 sentences what it is, and that is don't cry, Louisa, just don't cry. Just don't cry. Just take some of these little guys here to raise this up a little bit. Some more of these. Why don't I use just some tape? Because the tape sucks. I can't cut this tape with my scissors, because then I ruin my scissors. This is so sticky. It's a really cheap tape, you know, foam tape, and I always try to tear it because I don't want to ruin my scissors. And I tried to cut it, and then it took me, I think, 3 hours to clean my scissors. This is normally not a problem. I mean, this is like, you know, this kind of non-stick scissors material. But it was the hell. And since I experienced that, I always try to just tear this. But you have to be a certified foam tape tearer to to be able to do that. But I want this a little raised. Okay, so then we can take this. I want to have that, I think, a little higher, like so. I want to put some of the foam tape here as well. Perhaps I should invest some money into high quality foam tape. That could be a good thing. But sometimes you make those mistakes. You think, okay, it's foam tape, no one will see it, so it can be, you know, cheap. Don't waste your money. But then there comes this day where you realize that it would have been better to invest some more money into a better quality. Okay. This looks a little bit boring. I think we could put some thread first to the bigger heart and then add the smaller heart. We'll just take some out from my sewing machine. Now come on. Just like this. Because I also want to have a little more contrast with this black, and since I've sewn with a black thread on this rectangle there, this little strip, this makes sense perhaps. Yeah, perhaps a little. I want to have this a little more, you know, not so regular. Yeah, that's good. So let's first glue the thread down. And then I'm going to put some of these little guys to the back of this smaller heart. And these are also really cheap ones, and they are not so good. They stick to the heart, and I mean they stick to the paper now really well. But I've learned that if I now try to remove the plastic here, sometimes the whole foam square rips off and it rips a piece of the paper off. So I just take some bookbinders glue, because you can glue this kind of material with bookbinders glue, and I just put a little bit of glue here instead of removing these little guys. And this is a lot of glue, so if I press this down now, this plastic material is going to be glued to the foam so that nothing can happen later. And then we can make our lives really easy just by doing it like this. That's nice. But we need white splatters. And I just realized that it probably would have been better to splatter to the background first before gluing the rest, because I don't want to have the white splatters on my hearts. I want to have them only on the background. How can we manage that? I mean, I have my splatter brush here, which can control the splattering really well. I've already shown you why I use this. Also, during the February videos, I have one video where I show you how I splatter and why I splatter with this brush and with nothing else. If you have missed that, you can also find that in the bucket list playlist. But in this case, I think it really would have been better to do that first. But it works. Why do you go the easy way if you can also find a difficult way? Okay, I think this is good. Now it really looks like it was made before gluing this. That's good. That is really good. Because why did I want white splatters? That's an easy reason. Because I wanted to connect the white here, which I got from this frame, and the white of the little quote label there. But in a second I also want to add some black splatters, and they shall go from the heart to the background and here as well, so that they are on the hearts and on the background, so that we can get a connection with the black thread as well. And I don't want to overload this with splatters. I mean, here's a lot already, yes, but the white is now part of the background for me somehow. Okay, so while this is drying completely, we can, I mean, it's dry enough so that it can't smear anymore, but we can now decide for 2 more layers here as the base for the card. I want to have 1 white layer and 1 black layer. I'm going to use some watercolor paper. This is not big enough. So for this, for the backing of this, I use just some cheap watercolor paper. I don't use the watercolor cardstock by Ranger for that, because you know, we will only see a tiny little frame around that. And we don't need the advantages of the watercolor cardstock, because we won't use ink or something like that. So then this is like so. Okay, and then let's cut another one in black. So this was this line, so we need this next one here. Yeah, that should fit. So I'm going to glue the white one to the black one. And then this to the white one, and then I go to my sewing machine again, because I want to sew around this here as well, so that we get this connection with the other sewing. Okay, so I will quickly take this to my sewing machine. So then it looks like this. And yes, I have sewn through all of the layers now, so that you can also see the sewing on the back. I think that is something that is not everyone's taste, I know. But I like this because then my backside also has more interest instead of having it just black. I really like that you have this now, and that you have something like a frame around what you want to write here. I think that is really interesting. But of course you could also sew the top piece first and then just glue it down, so that the sewing can't come through the other layers. Yes. So let's then add also some black splatters. Oh, that looks good. And perhaps you have followed this whole thing from the very beginning, and perhaps you've all also been on the little party on February the 4th, which was my birthday. We have met on the, I can't speak anymore, on the living room concert of SASCHA DEHM, who is a German singer and songwriter. Perhaps you have been there also, then you know what I'm talking about. Perhaps you have missed it and you want to have another chance. Then I have good news. There have been so many people who said, oh no, I have missed it, and oh no, I've splattered to my, oh no. Oh no, look. But I think we can still read it, can't we? Ah. Yeah, I think I will live with this now. Holy moly. Perhaps you have missed the living room concert on February the 4th and you wanted to join, but you know, you have missed it. Then you can have another chance on March the 3rd. I will put the link, the direct link to the live, into the description box of this video, so that you can activate the notification And you can there also see which time it is in your area. I will additionally put a time converter into the description box so that you can double check that if you want. If you have any questions, of course, you can also contact me. And I would be really happy if we could meet there again. I mean, please feel free to do what you want. I will be there. And if you want to have a little chat with me, then you can use your chance if you want that. And we can meet there again. Or if you have missed it the last time, we can meet there for the first time. Isn't this good? I want to add a little button there. Don't know if that is perhaps too big. That is too matchy-matchy. I really like this big one. I want to glue this. Hopefully that works, but that should work. This is bookbinder's glue. You could also use collage medium for gluing this. I want to glue that only half to this edge here, so that the button is overlapping a little bit. Just like this. I will clamp that down in a second so that it can dry completely. But then this is my finished card. And this card is for you. And I'm really, really thankful for everything you have done for me, not only in February, but also the whole time before. And I'm hoping that we can continue with having such a great community and with having fun together, of course, as well. So have a very great day and see you the next time. Bye bye.